Carnoustie, Scotland. On a rainy Friday morning on Scotland's eastern coast, Zach Johnson stepped on the first tee at Carnoustie Golf Links and hooked a 3-iron well left. From nearly a baseball stance, Johnson then slapped one back down the fairway before wedging to 35 feet and putting. Deserved a bogey, Johnson said. Less deserved was the seemingly overwhelming lack of pre-tournament buzz around Johnson. Before this 147th British Open began, the Cedar Rapids native was listed at 80-1 odds by British bookmaker Ladbrokes. Surprising, especially when one considers that Johnson not only has a claret jug to his name for his victory at St. Andrews in 2015, but also has finished tied for 16th or better in 6 of his past 7 trips across the pond for the game's oldest major championship. "Maybe I'm just overly conservative and boring," Johnson said. "I'm perfectly fine with that. In reality, there aren't many better than Johnson at this event, and that includes players from both sides of the pond." The 42-year-old proved it Friday, sitting atop the leaderboard after a second round 4 under 67. It was his 9th round of 67 or better since 2010. No other player can say that. Close Drake alum goes into Iowa Golf Hall of Fame. "I think my game lends itself to this championship because my style can play here," said Johnson, known more for his game inside of 100 yards than his ability to bomb it off the tee. "I play the holes backwards. I take what the golf course gives me, and I try to execute." After his opening bogey, Johnson began to carefully pick apart Carnoustie. He birdied the 350-yard par 4 third by hitting 6-iron off the tee and making a 10-footer for birdie. He went driver off the next tee, at the 415-yard, par 4 fourth and went on to sink a 30-footer for another birdie. He birdied both par -5s, nose, 6 and 14, running his total on the holes to 5 under so far this championship. His final birdie, at the 499-yard, par 4 18th, was the most impressive, as Johnson hit 3 wood and 7-iron to 40 feet and drained the long-range putt. On a day when the other Johnson, world no. 1 Dustin, and one of Zach's 6 housemates this week, number 2 Justin Thomas, packed their bags home, Johnson has hit all the shots. All of them. Everybody says you've got to hit it low, knock down, punch it in. Yeah, you do, Johnson said. You've got to use the ground. You've got to know where to land it, all of the above, but you've got to hit it high. You've got to hit it left. You've got to hit it right. You've got to hold it. You've got to turn it, use the wind. You've got to do everything. Johnson didn't learn that immediately. In fact, he missed his first 3 open cuts. His first made cut in this championship came 11 years ago. Yes, at Carnoustie, where Johnson tied for 20th as Johnson shot 68-70 on the weekend. The memories from 2007 aren't as vivid as they once were. Johnson remembers hitting 3 wood all 4 days at the par 4 17th hole, whereas this week he's been between a 6 and 5 iron. He also recalls an 8-iron that he hit out of bounds on the par 3/8. The course as a whole, completely different. There is a fonder takeaway from that week, though. From that moment on, Johnson felt like his chances at the Open could match his love for it. He hasn't missed a cut since. He also has one of those shiny jugs. "The reverence I have for this championship and specifically that trophy, the claret jug," Johnson said. "I'm not suggesting that someone doesn't have a higher reverence for it, but I'd argue with them. He'd love another, too."